I got a question for you. What would you do if you were class president? Would you end bullying? Would you have better school lunches? Would you end teachers who are being bullies? What would you do if you were class president? If I was class president, what I would do is to stop people from filming on school property and filming fights and posting them on social media. Because people have got to learn you cannot be recorded without consent. That's what I would do. Here's a case of what happened here. If you don't remember, we told you about a young girl who committed suicide in a bathroom. Now there's more details to this case. I gotta warn you, this may contain suicide and self-harm topics. Ask your child to leave the room right now. I don't want them watching this, so they're out of the room. Then let's take a look.
Hello, my fellow dragons. My name is Felicia Loalbo Melendez.
That's Felicia Loalbo Melendez giving a speech for class president. 11 years old, a 6th grader.
Never, ever, ever be a bully. Never be a bully. Or no one will be talking to you. And I don't want that.
That was a voice memo Felicia once left. Her mom, Elena, says Felicia was bullied in person for years, including her last 2 years at F.W. Holbein Middle School in Mount Holly.
They called her a furry. She was not a furry. They called her gay. They called her straight. They called her bi. They called her all kinds of things.
On February 6th, Felicia's body was found in a school bathroom stall, ruled a hanging suicide by the medical examiner. This coming 2 weeks after her dad died from pancreatic cancer. Elena says Felicia's death was preventable.
My daughter was being tortured within the walls of that school.
As a mother, Elena says she reported the bullying to Holbein administrators in person 4 times and says Felicia sent about a dozen emails to her school counselor, including one just 4 days before her death.
She's telling her teachers. The teachers were witnesses to most of the bullying, physical altercations that were happening in classrooms and on school trips.
When we asked Mount Holly Township School District to confirm this communication, they declined to comment. Instead, the superintendent gave us a statement saying, quote, "The district cooperated fully, including providing surveillance footage and all documents related to the investigation," adding, quote, "We are committed to a culture that involves our entire school community in making our schools safe and secure for every student."
I think the school has continued to sweep the bullying instances under the rug, just like they did with my daughter before her passing.
The Burlington County Prosecutor's Office has since closed this case. They say security footage concluded Felicia was alone in the bathroom, and they've determined no foul play. The office tells us, quote, "The investigation has concluded and arrangements will be made in the near future for Ms. Loalbo to be shown the footage." But Elena says that's not enough. She wants the alleged bullies to at least be questioned and considered a potential factor in her daughter's death.
My next steps will be so that no other parent has to fight like I do, and no other child ever has to suffer like my daughter has.
Elena eventually plans to pursue legal action against Holbein School, but in the meantime, she just hopes something changes. In Mount Holly, Karen Hua, NBC 10 News.
All right, common sense alert. Let's go back to one of the key pieces of this. Let's go back to one of the what this person said.
Loalbo to be shown the footage, but Elena says that's not enough. She wants the alleged bullies to at least be questioned and considered a potential factor in her daughter's death.
My next steps will be so that no other parent has to fight like I do, and no other child ever has to suffer like my daughter has.
Elena,
That wasn't it.
here for every student.
I think the school has continued to sweep the bullying instances under the rug, just like they did with my daughter before her passing.
Exactly. That's what we've been talking about throughout the 6 years. A lot of school districts sweep bullying under the carpet. You tell them that, they'll say to you, well, we don't sweep it under the rug. We help out our students, so and so. I mean, we have superintendents, principals, superintendents. Nobody stopped this. I mean, the old expression, kids will be kids, boys will be boys, that has gone way too far. Every talk show deals with this issue. Like myself. I'm not a talk show host, but if I am a talk show host, I would deal with it in a heartbeat. Dr. Phil's very serious about this bullying. Hell, he testified before Congress back in 2010. And I take this very seriously. But really though, when you're dealing with people who are being bullied, you need to ask yourself what's going on. There are ways you can prevent this happening again, because really suicide is the number one issue. And schools can just sit there and say, well, there ain't no victims here. I mean, they closed the case, but more has to be done. We need laws, we need better training, and school boards need to man up and say, hey, we don't want to be sued, so we got to train our staff members to make sure they know what they're doing. Not just principals. Superintendents need to be trained. Principals, assistant principals need to be trained, as well as teachers. That way they can just know what's going on and how to deal with it. Still to come, satanic ritual abuse. Jay Shadler on a therapy about satanic ritual abuse. Coming up next, there's a bill being passed for bullying in New Jersey. We'll tell you what that is. Stay with us. Moving on to New Jersey. There's a House bill being passed that would end bullying. But could it be enough for all New Jersey schools? You're about to hear some details of this bullying bill that's being passed. That's being passed before Congress. Here's Mark Peterson.
There were some parents from the greater Elkhart area made the trip down to the State House today to speak in favor of this bill. Their pleas for help from members of the Senate Education Committee recounted several bullying-related suicides back home. Sometimes parents aren't even aware their children are being bullied, and along those lines, this bill requires school administrators to promptly inform parents after an incident, parents of both the victim and the perpetrator.
Students need to know when they report bullying that it will bring about change, that help is on the way, that there is hope for them to attend school without fear. I teach in a good school system. I know the ropes, I know how to navigate the system, and I could not protect my children from bullying. I had to uproot them and put them in a neighboring district. This is not what I wanted. It's not what my children wanted.
When we can identify high-risk students by tracking their behavior, we can then provide appropriate interventions. However, as it stands, our children are currently suffering in silence.
The most recent incident is the one that bothers me the most, because my 9-year-old was physically bullied. The 2 boys were suspended, and the only reason I found out is because I, as I stated, have those conversations with my children.
Now, before the debate began, this bill was amended, taking away a provision that the bullying victim in severe cases could actually order the perpetrator to transfer to another school. The amendment put that decision back in the hands of adults, back in the hands of school administrators. The House-passed bill did clear the Senate committee by a vote of 11-0.
Mark Peterson live in the studio tonight. Mark, thanks for the update.
Transferring the perpetrator to a school? No. That person who is being bullied should not be suspended or given detention. You give a bully detention, he's going to go do this again. You give him in-school suspension, he may bully people in school suspension, calling people fat, ugly, slut, bitch, every name in the book. That bully needs to be expelled or scared straight. Those are the 2 options, expelled or scared straight. The scared straight part, this is exactly what we need. What we need is scared straight. If you don't know what that is, I mean, if you're familiar with scared straight programs for schools, it's to where the school sends out of control kids in school to where they put them on the bus, they take them to jail, they'll be there for 1 day. And they'll be in jail, they'll have officers there, inmates. it's great for bullies and a lot of juveniles who just basically want to do whatever they want, steal, backtalk their parents, whatever, backtalk the teachers. It's exactly what happened here. When you're dealing with people who are being bullied, you gotta wonder what the heck is going on. You want to bully others? How about, because bullying can lead to assault, because that's assault. I mean, that crap can lead you in jail. That's why we need Scared Straight programs. Okay. Now I'm about to show you a video, a very horrific video. It involves a teacher's aide who assaulted an 8-year-old student at a school here in Texas. I'm gonna warn you, it's not something for you to watch, so I want all the parents not to have the kids watch this. Take a look.
A North Texas teacher's aide is caught on a school camera assaulting an 8-year-old student. But it's what Richardson ISD did not do that had the boy's mother reaching out to our I-Team and investigative reporter Brian New. As a result of our reporting here on CBS News Texas and the I-Team, the school district now making some changes. And we do want to warn you, you might find some of this video hard to watch.
As students waited for the afternoon bus to arrive at Aiken Elementary School in Dallas, a cafeteria camera captured an interaction between this teacher's aide, who works in the special education department, and this 8-year-old student who's in 2nd grade. The video has no sound, but shows the boy's reaction after being told by the aide to go sit down. The boy, who's enrolled in the school's special education program, then sits at the end of the lunch table in silence. Nearly a minute goes by before he stands back up. This next part may be hard to watch. The boy's mother wants people to see this. According to the police report, the teacher's aide was upset because the boy was using profane language and yelling out racial slurs towards her. When Brittany Wood finally saw the video of her son,
I did not expect to see what I saw.
She says it was heartbreaking.
It was really, really hard to watch because my child was completely helpless.
The day after the assault, a student informed the principal of what happened. The principal then called the boy's mother. When the Richardson ISD Human Resource Department went to talk to the teacher's aide, the school district says she immediately resigned.
I just don't want anyone else to be at risk. And I really want her to face the music for what she's done.
The Richardson School District told us the principal reported the incident to Child Protective Services and made the Dallas Police School Resource Officer assigned to the campus aware of the incident. But it's who the school district did not tell until we began asking questions the child advocates say is troubling. According to Texas law, when a school employee resigns and there's evidence that the employee abused a student, the superintendent must notify the commissioner of the Texas Education Agency no later than the 7th business day after the resignation. That way, the state's education department can investigate and put the employee on its do not hire registry if needed. But Richardson ISD did not report the teacher's aide to the TEA within 7 days. The school district did not report it after there was a police report either, or after she was charged with misdemeanor assault, or after she pled no contest. In fact, Richardson ISD did not report the October incident to the TEA until just about a month ago, the day after we reached out to the district. A school spokesperson told us the central office was unaware of the police investigation, and that the district determined, based upon what Child Protective Services had told them, that the teacher's aide's actions did not rise to the level of abuse or assault. And that is why the district told us it did not report it to the state.
Any suspicion of abuse, anytime there is an inappropriate restraint that injures a child, it should be reported.
Kim Rogers with Disability Rights Texas says state education records show an increase in recent years of teachers and school workers assaulting students. She says the only way to change this is to hold these employees in schools accountable.
One of the ways we have to address that is through the reporting of this to both CPS and TEA, and it's only through that that we can have accountability.
This is their neighborhood.
When Wood first went to see the principal after the assault, she was told she couldn't see the video of her own son. She would need to file an open records request. It was months before she first saw the video. The principal also refused to tell her the name of the teacher's aide, saying it was confidential. But there's something else that bothers his mother even more.
He was literally standing there screaming, asking for help, and nobody came except for another student who gave him a hug.
After the assault, minutes go by with no adult checking on the 8-year-old boy. Until this special education teacher, who the district says did not witness the assault, briefly stops. The district says the boy did not tell her what happened. Moments later, with his head still down, the teacher's aide grabs her bags and leaves for the day.
I want the school to be held accountable for what they allowed to happen and what they didn't do afterwards.
So we were able to reach the former school aide at her home. Through her door, she told us she had nothing to say. Meanwhile, Child Protective Services told us it could not comment on its investigation or what its investigators told school officials. Nicole, as for the Texas Education Agency, its investigation is still ongoing.
Brian, there's so many layers and emotions buried in this story. We saw the movement that happened once you started digging, and that was finally reported from Richardson to the TEA. But can you tell us, what happened from your investigation? Is Richardson ISD now making any notable changes?
They are. So Richardson ISD told us that they are making 3 changes as a result of this incident. One, they are retraining all campus administrators on their reporting duties when it comes to incidences involving law enforcement. 2, they are reminding campus administrators to consult with the HR department whenever a parent comes to them with a question about a school employee. The district says the principal here made a mistake in not telling the mother the name of that teacher's aide. And finally, and perhaps this is the most significant change, the school district says moving forward, they're going to err on the side of over-reporting these types of incidents to the state when it may not be clear whether it meets that abuse criteria.
All right, journalism that matters. Brian New and the I-Team, thank you so much.
Common sense alert. This is where it went wrong here. They failed to report to TEA. They did not name the teacher that assaulted that student. And another thing, she resigned. Yeah, okay, you can just sit there and go, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I quit. But you still can be under investigation if you do that. Sheesh. You know what that's like? If you assault a student, if a teacher assaults a student, they should be resigned. They need to, if this is reported, that person needs to fess up to what happened and not ever resign. Don't ever do that. You need to fess up and say, like, if I assaulted a student, if I was a teacher's aide and I assaulted a student because he wasn't listening, he called me the N-word so-and-so, and I beat him up, I would go, and he reported this, I would go straight to the principal and I would say, yes, I assaulted him because he called me a racial slur. I didn't know what else to do, so I beat the crap out of him. And I would never do that. But if I were to beat a crap out of a kid and the mother came in and told me that I was ungrateful and racist, I would learn my lesson. The lesson here being, do not hit kids. That's the most important lesson ever. And schools making some changes. I'm glad that schools making changes. To report to the state, they forgot to report to the state. Come on, give me a break here. If a student is being abused by a teacher, then the school needs to report to the state. That way the TEA can investigate this. Changes are being made, I'm glad, but the family, I don't know what the family's going to do, but we'll keep you posted on what's happening. Coming up next, satanic ritual abuse. We've told you about one person named Pat Burgess, who who had multiple personality disorders. Jay Shayla on a different kind of satanic ritual abuse from therapists. Stay with us. Now a story about something that your therapist or your psychiatrist or psychologist probably told you about. It involves satanic ritual abuse, or probably cults. We told you about one named Pat Burgess who had multiple personality syndrome and 8 people, and went through all of the tests, and went through all of everything, the hamburger, the so and so, blah blah blah. I showed you my reaction. I'm going to show that to you again sometime next week. But did you realize about what's happening? So the person about to meet met a well-respected doctor. Does he have anything to do with this? You'll hear his side of the story. And you also meet someone who was a victim of satanic ritual abuse. Here's Jay Shayla.
Let your mind go deeper and deeper and deeper.
In cadence, slow and reassuring, a therapist leads his patient into her past.
Deeper and deeper and deeper.
During 2 days of therapy, Vanessa, the name she's asked us to use, will drift through dozens of emotions and personalities.
Oh, God. Rosa, what is your job?
I'm doctor's.
Susan, how old are you? 3. Your name?
Vanessa originally sought psychiatric help for depression and eating disorders, but as her therapy continued, she began to remember episodes of sexual abuse at the hands of her father. Those memories then turned into vivid recollections of satanic rituals.
It was premeditated and systematic, methodical, fragmenting of our personalities, and then using other children and sacrifices to terrorize us.
Children were murdered?
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
One time there was a baby there, and they stabbed the baby and killed it, and we all had to drink blood.
Though Vanessa's father denies every accusation, and there are no police records to substantiate her claims, her memories seem brutally real. In words and pictures, she has recalled a childhood poisoned with physical, sexual, and psychological abuse.
How did you know it was true? How did you know the memory was true?
I became the little girl who observed that. That's who I became during that memory, and I was terrified. And I'm not making that up.
Vanessa's story would be chilling even if it was the rare memory of a single person, but it's not. Thousands of patients are now claiming that they have been victims of sexual abuse and torture carried out by satanic cults. Satanic ritual abuse has become the fastest growing and most controversial psychological phenomenon in the country. It's a modern twist to an ancient story. Reports of devil worship, black masses, sacrificial altars, and secret covens, bands of witches 13 in number, date back to the Middle Ages. The legends have survived to modern times, but today it's not high priests who are called on to explain the evils of the mind. It's professional therapists.
How many of you work with ritual abuse?
Inside this room are more than 200 licensed psychotherapists listening to a closed briefing session on ritual abuse. Though primetime was barred from this seminar, our hidden cameras recorded Dr. Corey Hammond using a videotape to teach therapists how to use hypnosis to retrieve memories of ritual abuse.
Drifting further and deeper into comfort. I will typically say to them, you know, I know a secret about you.
If the satanic ritual abuse phenomenon has a guru, Dr. Hammond is it. He's a staff psychologist at the University of Utah Hospital in Salt Lake City. He believes many patients in his private practice come from families who belong to organized satanic cults. This woman, who asked not to be identified, has worked with him for more than a year to retrieve memories of an abusive mother.
Now that you've gotten back some of these memories, tell her what you'd really like to say to her.
I hate you. I hate you. How could you do those things to me?
basically start with severe torture of a very young child, usually in the range of 2 to 3 years old. The strategy is to make them highly dissociative and divide the mind so that they purposefully create multiple personalities.
By abusing the child splits into several personalities.
Yes.
How widespread are we talking?
At least tens of thousands of victims, probably hundreds of thousands. Remember the memory of what they did with it.
You know what's coming up. Coming up is Christmas. Gotta get ready for Satan. No, I don't want.
They will create a part who may be there to do sacrifices, to kill other people, to do child sacrifices.
When you use the word they, who are you talking about?
Well, I wish we knew who they were.
We're going back to the concept that we're not responsible for our own thoughts and feelings and behaviors, but we are possessed.
After nearly 20 years in private psychiatric practice, Dr. George Ganaway says he has yet to see a single patient whose report of ritual abuse is true. What's happening, he says, is ritual abuse therapy is turning into a cottage industry for his profession. Insurance claims for psychiatric treatment linked to the diagnosis have jumped as much as 50% in just the last year.
I'm doing a number of reviews for insurance companies on patients who have been institutionalized for months, for years, in and out, where they're dealing with these satanic ritual abuse experiences.
So it's big business for the therapeutic community.
Well, it's big business, but I think some therapists feel like that they're on some type of a crusade.
How many therapists have you told about all this? How many therapists have you been training?
I suppose there have been over 1,000 therapists that I've said something to in conferences.
They'll begin sexually abusing they'll begin to do things like have them drink blood.
Have you ever seen a sacrifice?
No.
No bones scattered around an altar?
No, I haven't been present at any of the ceremony.
And yet if you go out to these seminars and you speak as if these things have actually happened.
We as therapists shouldn't be responsible for providing evidence.
While there have been a few isolated examples of ritualistic murders and occult-related crimes, the fact is no hard evidence of large-scale satanic cults has ever existed. A 7-year study by the FBI was unable to identify even one documented satanic murder, and little or no evidence of organized satanic conspiracies. If this is as real and as widespread as you believe it to be, where's the proof? Where are the bones? Where are the graves?
Basically, we're not going to find many, I don't believe, because the things that therapists hear all over this country are that morticians are involved in many cases, physicians who can sign phony death certificates.
Despite such bizarre explanations and lack of evidence, ritual abuse workshops are flourishing. In these sessions, therapists can sometimes produce memories even in the most reluctant patients.
I don't have that many memories. I'm new at this diagnosis.
And actual accounts of child abuse are often ignored amid the more dramatic and shocking stories of satanic rituals.
Hey, Ethan. He's just a knife and made us stick it in a prison.
Even more troubling, many patients who claim to be victims of satanic ritual abuse have suffered some serious childhood trauma, making them especially vulnerable now to hypnosis and fantasy.
These folks are like sponges, and in an altered state of consciousness, they can absorb information from books and from movies, from magazines.
Or from a therapist's mouth.
Sometimes from a therapist's mouth.
Has anyone inside been to a cult meeting in the last month?
Remember Vanessa? Critics say it is in this kind of therapy where the idea of Satanism is planted. Listen.
I counted 12 people who answered the door. There may be more, maybe 13. 13 were very clever.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, there was another name coming.
What was that? Regina. And that would make 13? By my count. That's a coven, right?
Now there's other voice in there that just keeps saying they wish I'd shut up and stop making all this stuff up.
If Vanessa has doubts, her therapist, Randy Noblet, still presses ahead, using an assortment of mysterious code words.
Priority level.
He's looking for a response.
Priority level.
For example, what kind of reaction?
Their eyes roll up and their eyes flutter, and then an alter personality comes out behaving like a robot.
Then you know you're on the trail to ritual abuse.
Well, I don't know of any other way to account for it. Hello, Satan. Hello, Satan. Hi, how are you?
Good, pretty good.
You called up a lot of personalities on Vanessa.
Yeah.
You called up Satan.
Right.
He pretty easy to talk to?
Vanessa Satan seemed like a pretty friendly guy to me.
I hate to be so blunt about it, but some of these therapists may be as sick as their patients.
Well, the question is, who is hoaxing who?
That question is now at the heart of a bitter feud brewing among patients, their families, and the therapeutic community. Because increasingly, people who, while undergoing therapy, recounted bizarre stories of ritual abuse, now say it was never true.
I thought I saw my father doing things to me. I really believed it. I thought. And I wrote the things down. But it wasn't true. It didn't happen.
These 4 women are all former patients of Dallas psychotherapist Michael Moore. Moore, who is being sued for negligence and fraud, would not talk to Primetime, but continues to practice as a specialist in the treatment of eating disorders.
He made you believe that all these pictures going on in your head was reality, was real stuff. Here I am, I'm sick. He's the specialist. He's the one supposed to be saving lives. You know, and I'm going to argue with him.
So the therapist was giving you a reason, an explanation for your problem.
Yes.
And it seemed reasonable to you?
I was desperate. I was desperate.
Desperation eventually engulfed another of Michael Moore's patients. For years, Gloria Grady had struggled with a weight problem, but under therapy, she came to believe her troubles were far darker.
Oh, I heard about Gloria long before I met her. From Mike. Her father was a Baptist minister who was a satanic high priest and abused his daughter.
Lee Grady is not a satanic priest. He's a small-town Texas preacher. His wife, Jean, is not a child abuser. She's a Bible teacher. But 5 years ago, their daughter sent them a letter accusing them of sexually abusing her in satanic rituals.
She said that we pretended pretended to be the perfect family, and that she was removing herself from our family unit.
Had you ever abused her?
No.
Stunned at the accusation, the Gradys tried to speak with their daughter, but instead, she took them to court, claiming her parents were Satanists.
I mean, the things she described, she gave birth to several children, and in some of whom were aborted, and the fetus is then eaten ceremonially.
You're sitting in the courtroom listening
Yes.
to these accusations.
Yes.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
What went through your mind?
Disbelief. Disgust.
Though the Gradys were found innocent, they have not seen their daughter for more than 2 years now. But they believe her whereabouts are known by Michael Moore, who they are suing for slander.
Our nation is going through a love affair with psychotherapy. And please forgive the phraseology here, but I feel it. They have emotionally and mentally raped our daughter.
Though Primetime was unable to talk to Gloria Grady, we did try to have a few words with Michael Moore. Mr. Moore? Hi, I'm Jay Shadler with Primetime Live. Could I just talk to you for a moment about some accusations that your patients have made? Just for a few moments?
Sure.
Can we just talk just for a few moments? These are pretty serious allegations. Could you tell us a little bit about Gloria Grady? Do you know where she is?
I've had other mothers come and say, I don't see how this could happen. My daughter and I are very close. Gloria Jean and I were very close. I don't understand how it could happen either. And I miss her. I miss my daughter.
At night, our front
bedroom window up there. When it starts getting dark, we turn that light on, and that light is left on up there for her.
One note, this morning, our affiliate in Dallas, WFAA, talked to Gloria Grady. She said she stands by her story and her accusations against her parents and still has not talked to them.
Sounds like a story that's not worth watching, but it does give you some perspective on ritual abuse. Next on the program, this is for women. Did you have breast implants? What if we told you that there were some major problems with these implants? Renee Poussaint will tell you. Stay with us. If you're planning on having breast implants, you need to listen to this next story here. Almost over 30 years ago, the government has declared that silicone breast implants were probably made, I don't know how to say this, made unstable because of people who don't take them very seriously. It's a medical nightmare that may end up being, I don't know how to completely say this here without making some people offensive here, but here's Renee Poussaint.
When Pam Dempsey got her implants, she was told they would last a lifetime and were safe. She never imagined they could lead to her deteriorating health. For 6 years, she had been complaining to her doctors about headaches, chronic fatigue, and joint aches and pains. But it wasn't until she heard the news reports that Pam, now 29, associated the symptoms with the implants.
When everything came out on TV, I had all the symptoms. All of them. I strongly suspected then. I called my doctor. I called the surgeons. They acted like I was paranoid, maybe overreacting.
Did you pretty much say,
well, this is it. There's nothing, nobody will help me. There's nothing I can do.
7 months later, in November of '92, a mammogram showed there was a rupture in one of her implants, and Pam was told they had to come out. At last, she told her doctor she had proof of why she was sick.
I've been trying to tell you, I've been sick, I'm sick. Let's get them out.
Marlene Hooker's first set of implants were for breast reconstruction in 1975. 3 more sets and 3 operations later, she became sick in 1990 with symptoms similar to Pam's.
I knew they had to come out. I was getting worse daily, taking more and more medication with less and less satisfaction.
For 2 years, her doctors didn't know why she was sick. Then, in February 1992, Marlene heard news reports about possible problems with implants. She contacted her plastic surgeon.
He said, I don't think there's any connection. I think the news media has just caused everybody to overreact. He said, however, if you're having a problem, see your family physician.
Like Marlene and Pam, 30-year-old Michelle Carlson was energetic and healthy before she had her breasts enlarged with silicone implants in 1990. She too was told they were safe. A year after the surgery, she started to feel sick, but didn't connect it to her implants. For months, her doctors told her, take antibiotics. It's just some virus.
I started writing down every day my fever, and I would go back to the doctor and I would say, I've had a fever for 30 days now. And, then it was 45 days, and they still basically told me I just had a virus.
Finally, Michelle went back to the plastic surgeon who had originally put her implants in and had said then that they were safe. Now he told her they were making her sick and had to come out immediately.
When I went into the hospital and I saw all these other women that were in there with the exact same problems. And, I hate to say it, but in a way it made me feel better because I knew I wasn't crazy. There are many people that are sick.
If you go to a meeting like this of a support group called Silicone Sisters, you'll hear the same kind of stories. Women spending months, some even years, trying to find out why they are sick, and still being told by doctors that their symptoms are unrelated to their breast implants.
Every time I go to the doctor's office, they tell me it's in my mind.
Like hundreds of other women with implants in similar groups around the country, they search for answers and for help.
Let us hope that someday the doctors will be more sympathetic and knowledgeable about our condition.
They exchange names of doctors, mainly rheumatologists, who will recognize and treat their symptoms, and the names of sympathetic plastic surgeons to remove their implants. This network is necessary, they say, because of the resistance of the plastic surgery establishment to the idea of connecting implants to any health problems.
All those symptoms are symptoms that commonly occur in the population at large. A segment of those people have implants.
Dr. Norman Cole of Louisville, Kentucky, says women of a certain age are vulnerable to certain problems, with or without implants.
So women between the ages of 20 and 50 are more prone to skin rashes, swollen breasts, severe joint pain, chronic fatigue?
Yes, at this point in time, there's no evidence that there's a higher incidence in breast implants than there is in the patient's population at large.
The tragedy in this entire issue is that we don't really know how many women out there have implants. Okay, and we don't really know how many of them have problems. So we have no clue as to what the incidence is.
Dr. Roger Corey at Barnes Hospital in St. Louis has a number of concerns about breast implants. He removes 2 to 3 sets of them a week and has refused, with only a few exceptions, to put breast implants into women. He says half of the implants he removes are ruptured. In this patient's case, even though hers are intact, Corey sees other problems.
Notice how the color is not crystal clear. When we put those in, they're crystal clear. I don't know why they're not when we come back a few years later. So although the shell is intact, you get this slime of silicone. This is what they call bleed. This lady did not have a gross rupture, but she had leakage. So obviously there was something going on there. I need a new pair of gloves now. My gloves are slimy and I can't hold instruments with them.
Rupture and leakage are not the only things that can go wrong. This is what some implants can look like when they are removed.
We have a bit of what you could call a cemetery to this technology. These are all failed implants, failed in different ways.
Dr. Pierre Blais has examined over 2,000 sets of failed breast implants. Formerly the Canadian government's top authority on medical products, he is now a private consultant who also testifies as an expert witness in lawsuits and is focusing his attention almost entirely on breast implants that have been removed. This, he says, is a silicone implant that has ruptured. This is what a new one looks like, and this is one in which the scar tissue surrounding the implants has calcified, become rock hard, a problem that plastic surgeons have known about for years.
What you see here is what's left of the implant. This is the shell. This is the way it came out when the pathology center decided to open up what it was to see what was inside. Let me show you what this really looked like when you take it out of a patient. It is as tough and as hard as a bowling ball.
What kind of harm comes from that kind of ruptured implant?
We don't know. We know one thing, though, is that once the breast is invaded with this mass of stuff, it is changed permanently, chemically.
And women who've had problems with their implants complain of arthritis-like conditions, some of them severe. But you cannot prove that the breast implants directly cause those conditions.
Probably not. However, if you look at something like this, which is leaking like a sieve, and you look at this person, and if she's got an unusual disease, you better have a very good argument to say that this didn't do it.
Are breast implants safe?
Yes.
You can say that without qualification.
Breast implants are safe inasmuch as we can count any sort of medical device is safe.
Dr. Cole was president of the American Society of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons a year and a half ago when the FDA held hearings about the safety of silicone breast implants. Under his leadership, the society spent close to $4 million for a high-powered lobbying campaign to keep silicone breast implants on the market. I'm still not understanding why it is that you feel that these implants should continue to be placed in women if there is no scientific proof that they are safe?
There is no scientific proof that they're unsafe.
What the plastic surgeons wanted to convince people of was there is not evidence 100% conclusive to show that these are harmful. That's not the standard. If that's the standard, then you're going to wait till there are bodies out there.
Dr. David Kessler, head of the Food and Drug Administration, says the standard for the implants has to be proven safety, and the implant manufacturers, he says, are responsible for the testing to get that proof. The restrictions he placed on the use of silicone breast implants last year will stay in force, he says, until all of the testing is done, a process that could take another 2 to 5 years. Why does it have to take that long?
I can't allow these devices to be marketed until the time when we have the answers. Can we speed up getting the answers? We're working as hard as possible.
In the meantime, doctors like Corey are finding that with most of their patients, once the implants are gone, so are the health problems.
We're finding out that a lot of those women, once you've taken the implants out, do improve. All those symptoms, that feeling of being sick all the time, do improve. Could be a placebo, a sham effect, we're not sure. But the fact of the matter is, the majority of them do improve.
That's why women desperate to regain their health want the implants taken out. But many can't afford the procedure, which can cost as much as $15,000, an expense they feel should be covered by insurance. Yet some companies are claiming removal is not a medical necessity and are refusing to pay. That's what Marlene Hooker found out after her doctor wrote her insurance company that her implants had leakage problems and had to be removed. That wasn't good enough for the insurance company. They would not approve reimbursement for the surgery. 2 months later, Marlene woke up one morning with a red rash and swollen breasts. And you decided, what?
Today's the day they're coming out if I have to do it myself.
Marlene went to the emergency room of a local hospital, hoping they would remove her implants. She thought if the surgery was an emergency, her insurance company would be forced to pay for it. Told this could not be done in their operating room, Marlene became desperate. If it was not done as an emergency, she figured insurance would not pay.
So this was about 8 o'clock in the morning. I sat there until 9 o'clock and nothing. I knew I was going to lose my nerve if I didn't go do it. I mean, you can only sit patiently so long not knowing what's going to happen. So I just took my little scalpel out of my purse. I walked across to the little restroom in the emergency room area, lifted my blouse, and proceeded to try to rupture the implant.
You cut yourself with the scalpel?
Yeah. While it wasn't that painful, it felt like a paper burn cut. I was thinking, can I do this? If I'm going to do it, I better hurry, because I'm not going to be able to stand here much longer slicing away at my breast. Then I saw some little jelly-like stuff, and I said, yay, I've done it.
The next day, at another hospital, Marlene got what she wanted. Her implants were removed. Like Marlene, Pam Dempsey was denied coverage. In her case, because the initial surgery was cosmetic. Michelle's insurance company turned her down because they do not consider signs and symptoms to be an illness or injury. All of the unanswered questions and disagreements within the medical establishment have put women in a kind of medical limbo and have made it easier for insurance companies to refuse to pay for medical treatment related to breast implants.
The great tragedy of this is that women had these devices put in and they were never told there were risks with these devices.
So who's responsible?
Everybody's responsible. The manufacturers who sold these products, the doctors who implanted it, and this agency who, over a period of time, didn't call the plastic surgeons and the manufacturers on the carpet.
But in the meantime, for the women who have these devices in their bodies, what do you tell them?
The most important thing is tell them everything we know.
But what I'm hearing is that the FDA doesn't really know very much at this stage.
You're 100% correct.
So
we are sitting here, 30 years of use, and I don't have the answers to basic questions.
few notes now. After our interview, Pam Dempsey got a letter from her insurance company saying her claim is being reconsidered. Michelle Carlson's insurance company made partial payment for her implants to be removed. She's feeling much better and plans to go back to work soon. And Marlene Hooker says her health is about the same. Her insurance company finally did pay for the removal of her implants. An important point, the Food and Drug Administration advises that women should not have their implants removed if they're not having any problems. However, if there is evidence of a rupture or other symptoms, seek medical advice. And if you feel your doctor is not listening to you or taking you seriously, find one who does.
Now you may be thinking, are you scaring us? We're not scaring any woman who wants to do the silicone implants. But, like Diane said, if you feel like your doctor is not taking you very seriously, you need to get a second opinion. You gotta get a second opinion. Don't go to the hospital and ask to get these removed. Just seek a second opinion. That way, you can be very healthy. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Finally tonight, our Bible break. It's all about those cell phones. Now, if you're using a cell phone in school, you make sure to put it up, otherwise teachers can break it. That was just the case years ago. Take a look at this. With over 4 million views from like years ago. Take a look at this.
Okay, so
hey Sam, check out my camera, man.
Basically, your costume design down. You're gonna want to make sure that you color it in and make it look nice and easy. Skylar, what are you doing? Quiet.
Dude, check this
out. Give me the phone. What phone? Skylar, I'm in the middle of teaching a lesson. Just give me the phone. I'm not doing anything. Do you want to go to the GRC? I'm paying attention. Skylar, give me the phone now. Come on, Mr. Let's go. Can I at least have it back after class? I don't have time for this. You can't have this. Who are you texting? Nobody. You can see I was just turning it on. Take your phone back, Skylar.
That was just short. How about this one? Here's this one.
So I don't know. What do you want to do today? I don't know. What do you want to do today? I don't know. Hello? What? Really? I'll text everyone. Dude, guess what? What?
Hang on. You know you're not supposed to use that in school. How many times have I told you here? Come on, give it. Hello? Yeah. Excellent. Great. Yeah, just a minute. Hang on.
There was one where there's one. You look up no texting class. This would pop up. Take a look at this.
Voilà pourquoi je faire refroidir. How do we conjugate faire and with the je?
Don't know. Don't know.
What are you doing, Connor?
Nothing.
You know there's no texting in class.
We also talked about this on the GME YouTube channel. Yeah. Well, there's time for one more.
Watch where you're going.
Okay, class, the bell is ringing. Now it's time to put away your phones when we get to work.
You should really stop picking. You're gonna get in big trouble. That's okay. I'm not gonna get in trouble.
Carter, put away your phone or there will be consequences.
Sure, I believe you.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Carter, dang it! Phone on my desk now.
See, I told you so. You got yourself on taking away.
Okay, Carter, here's your phone back, but if I see it again, I'm going to break it. Understood?
Understood.
Give me your phone. I told you that if you use this again, I was going to break it. Wait, that's your stupid phone.
And that's what happens when you bring cell phones into class. There's actually one that I remember seeing to where I was going to know a new policy is keep breaking the phones. And there's people out there sitting in the cafeteria watching them on the phone. The student comes in, breaks the phone. Then the student comes in, coach comes in, breaks the phone. If that video was here, I would play it for you, but it probably got deleted. Coming up on Throwback Thursday, Monopoly. Nobody liked it, and everybody hated it. Bible clips about Monopoly freakouts. 2.5 hours of Bible. Ready? I quit. It's 4 a.m. I'm sick of this crap. Where'd you get the pink 50s, you cheating whore? That's in Thursday. That's on Thursday. Let's give me a break for Wednesday. We'll see you for Throwback Thursday. Good night for everyone on YouTube. Have a good night.